Hey there guys, what's going on? Today we are back with another video talking about some MP5 statistics. Now, the MP5 did receive some nerfs in the most recent patch, but we're here today to make another video comparing the 10mm ammo and the 45 round mags. Basically, we did make another video very similar to this a little while ago, and it's time we updated it because of the last patch. Basically, someone recommended this to me, and I felt like it was a good idea. Anyway, we're going to be taking a look at two pretty much the exact same MP5 classes here today and comparing them side by side on a website known as codgundata.com. This is a very powerful tool which lets you see individual attachment statistics and basically lets you compare attachments and see which one would probably be better for you. It's also worth noting that despite weapons having better statistics in the actual tool, it's sometimes not the case where they do perform better in game. So the statistics don't always tell the full picture here, and we'll talk about that more in a second. Just before we do get into this one here, let's try and get this one to 35 likes. I know you guys are really pushing out those like goals. Like, I think I asked for 386 million likes the other day. I mean, that's a pretty high bar. You guys didn't hit it though. What are you doing? How are we supposed to grow this YouTube channel if we don't hit 368 million likes? Anyway, if you haven't already done so, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any more of the upcoming videos. Right, let's talk about MP5 stuff here. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be comparing the same two MP5 classes, one with the 45 round mags and one with the 10mm rounds. This is our class as follows. Starting off at the barrel here, we're looking at the monolithic integral suppressor for that sound suppression, bullet velocity, and about a 15% increase to our damage range, which is very powerful. They really should include that at some point. We're also taking the FSS close quarters stock here for that aim down sight speed. The FTAC collapsible did get nerfed in the latest patch, meaning it does increase our recoil control by a little bit, makes it a little bit harder to hit those shots. The Merc foregrip here as well for that recoil control and hip fire accuracy, as well as about a 4% increase to our movement speed. The stipple grip tape, of course, the aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed, very powerful here. And of course, the 45 round mags or the 10mm auto 30 round mags. And we'll talk about the individual differences between these two in just a second. Okay, as you can see here, we are looking at the COD Gun Data website, in which we do have very powerful comparison tools that show exact weapon stats within Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So, starting us off with the full comparison tool here, we can take a selection of whatever gun we like. We're looking at the submachine guns here today, and of course, it decides not to load just as we're doing this. This is very good. We're of course looking at the submachine guns here today, and we're looking at the MP5, so you can punch this in, take the next step, and you can choose your first attachment, and as I did say, that is the monolithic integral suppressor. As you can see, it's an 18% increase to our damage range. The ADS is increased by 21 milliseconds and the bullet velocity is increased by 25%. That's basically how this works. You can see the individual stats of each attachment. All the hidden stats are listed on here as well. Moving on to our next attachment, we do want that FSS close quarter stock here for that aim down sight speed. Doesn't give us too many other bonuses, but the aim down sight speed is very powerful here. Moving to the underbarrel, of course, we want that Merc foregrip. You can see here the 3.7% increase to our movement speed is very strong here. Recommend taking that on most SMGs for the hip fire accuracy, very strong. We also want the stippled grip tape as well, and then the 45 round mags, of course. This does increase our aim down sight speed, the movement speed as well, but we do get more rounds to shoot. So that is our complete setup. You can see all the stats that do get adjusted here, what's worse, what's better, and so on. You can actually see the final stats on how quickly your gun's going to aim down sight, sprint to fire speed, and so on. This is a very powerful tool, as I said. Then we want to save this and then add another tool with the submachine gun again. MP5 10mm. Next step, we want the same setup here, and we will skip to the end here just so you don't have to see me go through this all again because it's exactly the same. Okay, as you can see here, we do have everything selected with the 10mm MP5, and we will punch this into the data and generate a summary. As you can see here, this does compare them side by side. Like you can see, the ADS speed is a little bit quicker on the second MP5 rather. The sprint to fire speed is exactly the same. The movement speed is a little bit faster on the second one, and so on. You can all see this does work very nicely, and the bullet velocity is actually a little bit quicker on the MP5 originally, which is a little bit weird. Anyway, so we can take a look at our comparison chart here, and we can see time to kill. Time to kill set in TTK is very important in multiplayer over Warzone because it does compare them and it happens very quickly, whereas if it was Warzone, we'd be looking at damage per second. We're looking at those shots in the chest, 100 health, and we'll talk about it here. So if we look at this graph here, we can sort of work out some differences between these two weapons. But as I said, looking at this raw data doesn't necessarily make up for what it appears to be in the game. So we can see here that out to about 15-20 meters or so, the gun performs fairly similarly. You can see at certain distances, one of the particular attachments, and that is the 10mm, does perform a little bit better, and it can increase those sort of breakpoints in. So So say it was 15 meters here, that's the breakpoint there. Say this is 17 meters. So there is a little bit of a difference here. And as you go up the graph, that difference does become further and further increased. The further you move away from your target, the more likely you are to get the kill with the 10mm rounds, as that's what it's supposed to do. It's meant to increase our damage and our range, which is very, very powerful here. But again, you continue up the graph and it does sort of peter out here at about 30-ish meters or so. It continues on and becomes very, very similar, whereas there is more steps in the regular rounds. So what we can take from this is basically the 10mm rounds do more damage, which we knew that already. Like, we did work out that from our last test, but there is more factors to this that we do have to take into consideration, and we'll jump back into the game to show some of those off. So as you saw by the various stats that we did present earlier, there are some noticeable differences between these two weapons. As you can see, the MP5 with the 10mm rounds, of course, does more damage. That is intentional, as that is what it says here. The 10mm auto 30 round mags increase our damage and range, reducing our fire rate and increasing that amount of recoil that we do get, which is a little bit of unfortunate. I'm not 100% sure the exact increase to our recoil that we do get, but the 10mm rounds are always going to be better at range. That's a given fact. But moving on to what we can actually consider to be a little bit of a problem with this particular setup, I don't think any other pistol in the game actually runs 10mm rounds. So we can't actually do the whole sort of perk attachment with the fully loaded on a pistol and then get more ammo for the MP5. That's always going to be a problem for this. You go on like a 10 kill streak and you basically immediately run out of bullets. Whereas with the 45 round mags, you're going to pretty much have bullets until the end of time. Plus you get that increased fire rate and apparently a little bit faster of a bullet velocity as a result of the fire rate or the recoil reduction from this. We can also consider that you need to change your class setup around that 10mm or auto 30 round mags limitation of there not being too much 10mm ammo available. So you do have to end up running the ammo box or scavenger just to be able to continue on your streak. You don't really have that problem with the 45 round mags, as 9mm ammo is very, very common. It's like you can run the fully loaded perk on a pistol, you can get the 45 round mags on this and the fully loaded perk if you're feeling so inclined. Like, there are loads of different options, and this weapon is always, or this ammo type rather, is always on the ground, where the 10mm ammo is a little bit more rare. So in terms of what I think the best MP5 class is, we're going to jump into some gameplay and have a little bit more of a conversation about it, and we will talk soon. Alrighty, so we're going to test out both MP5 variants here, and we'll come up with our final thoughts at the end of the video. But I feel like the MP5 is always going to be one of those guns that is very, very powerful in this game. They can nerf it as many times as they like they can do as many changes as they want to this particular weapon, and it'll still be a god gun. As you can see, statistically, the actual variations in the weapon are not too significant. Like, you're still going to be able to get your kills. The fire rate's impressive. Like, there's not a lot of recoil either way. So you can do a serious amount of work with regardless of whatever you put on your MP5. Like, it's one of those things that's always going to do a job for you. But realistically, in the game, you have to take into consideration the actual amount of recoil control that you get, as well as, like, things like running out of ammo. So if you're going on those big long streaks, like, you do not want to be running out of ammo, having to switch weapons. It's a very, very annoying prospect to have to come up with. And that does happen a fair bit with the 10mm rounds. Like, you'll be on like a 10 streak or whatever, and you'll just have no more ammo. You have to wait for your box to come up, or you have to run those. Yeah. Of course there is. You have to be running those stopping power rounds, or you have to be running scavenger, which causes you to change up your class setup in a way you might not want to run. Like, you might want to be running EOD, but you need that scavenger to be able to continue to fight, actually play the game. So it's one of those things that you do actually have to consider. Like, data implications do not always mean a weapon can be better statistically. Like, it's just a little bit interesting of a thing. Like, that does happen occasionally, in which a weapon will be statistically better, but in terms of actual, like, real life performance, it can be still worse. I mean, yeah, in a vacuum, the 10mm rounds are definitely probably more powerful, because that's how they're designed. They're designed to be more powerful. But if you're looking for longevity, like if you're going on those longer streaks, like you're after those nuke streaks and so on, you probably want to be running the 45 round mags, just because of the extended life or the lifespan of your streak you can go on. So we'll change over to 10mm rounds here, and we'll probably rack up some more kills here. Alrighty, so it should be doing a little bit more damage here. That more punch through most of our shots. We'll be actually getting those kills that, instead of going, hey, what the hell, why did that guy not die? We probably should end up getting most of the kills here. Admittedly, this isn't the most SMG friendly map in the game, but I feel like if we're after these real world examples, we need sort of unoptimal or suboptimal sort of maps and game modes to play on without sort of having to work. Where is he? Come through here. So yeah, the time to kill is very, very... That was almost our death. I wonder if we can pre-fire this man. No. Too hard. Too hard to see. I gotta move up. I do want to cross this gap, but this man is about to shoot me in my head. Stay down, everything's fine. You can see, you get those extra kills, like you get that little bit of extra punch, and it's sort of a combination of whether you want those extended streaks or you want to be dealing the maximum amount of damage, because it's one of those things. If you're one of those players who's a little bit less confident in your ability to go on those long streaks, the 10mm ammo is definitely going to be the choice for you. You can see we do decent damage at range, and it kills very quickly, like it kills quickly enough. Whereas the 45 round mags is probably more suitable for those close quarters maps, like those maps where you're really running around very much getting into fights all the time, like your shoot houses and stuff like that. So if you are interested in just sort of having a good time on those longer maps, plus you get to go on those longer streaks, well then the 9mm rounds, 45 round mags is probably for you. Gotta get around the back here. There's definitely some boys shooting the air support down, which is a little bit annoying, but I mean, that's how it goes. As you can see here, we're basically on like, what, a 5 streak, and we're pretty much out of ammo. We could, of course, be using our ammo box a little bit more effectively, like actually making use of it, and we're gonna have to do that here. Whereas if we were using the... Jesus. Whereas if we were using the 45 round mags, we'd be able to go on a little bit longer of a streak here. There's... Yeah, there he is. Calling this big fat boy. Where is the spawn? Over there. I'm probably going to die if I go over here, so we're going to risk it for the biscuit. Man, somebody is going off right now. I mean, it's me. Spoiler, it's me. There was a man? Jesus. This is not going very well for them. They are getting absolutely hammered here. I want to get another kill for... we're not going to be able to get another kill. Oh, no, we did. And we called in our streak there. We'll have our final thoughts on this in just a second. So, what do we think of our MP5 Class Setup here that has only just loaded in? Well, it sort of depends. As with most things in Call of Duty, it sort of depends, and it's all about personal preference as to which of these attachments is better for you. If you're one of those players that thinks that you're going to get the decent amount of kills, but you're not super confident on going on those longer streaks, the 10mm auto 30 round mags are definitely for you. Like, you get the most amount of damage that you can do, you get a decent amount of range, the recoil control isn't too significant. It is noticeably more than the 45 round mags, but it's still pretty easy to hit those shots. Like, this is the ammo for you. Those 10mm rounds are very, very powerful. Like, you get the most amount of damage, as I said, but if you're considering going on those longer streaks, you're more of an aggressive player, you like to move around the map, you play on those close range maps, the 45 round mags with that increased fire rate, more bullets to fire, increased maximum ammo capacity is probably more powerful for you. So it's one of those things that there are different options that you can use depending on how you do play the game. I like the 45 round mags because I do go on those longer streaks sometimes. Like, we did drop a video yesterday in which we did grab a tactical nuke with a naked 725 class, which is pretty hilarious. Go check it out if you haven't already. But the 10mm rounds is statistically probably a little bit better. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this one. We are after 35 likes on this bad boy. A very, very cool video using a very powerful tool in the COD gun data. If you do want to go check that out, make sure you do. Not sponsored or anything by them. They just do a good work over there. If you haven't already done so, make sure you do hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on, just in case you don't want to miss out on any more of these videos. I think we're at like 2,350 subscribers now, which is very, very wild. So make sure you do go do that for me. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.